Hey guys, my name is Spencer Allen, and I did my project on Cinderella Man. Uh, it's a movie about a boxer back in the Great Depression, struggling through the poverty-stricken times. The mental skill that I picked is motivation because of his situation and how he had to come through. Um, as far as the summary goes of the movie, the guy's name is James J. Braddock. Um, Starts off in the movie, you see him fighting. It's a mediocre fight. Um, Crowd's booing. Nobody's really winning. Punches are being thrown. They're really weak. Crowd continues to boo. Fight ends in a not even a tie. They just ended the match. No contest. Commissioner speaks to him after. The boxing commissioner tells him that he's not excited anymore. That he's out of his prime. He's mediocre almost, and that he's not bringing in the money that he's supposed to be. So basically lets him go. Braddock is married to a wife named May. Has three children. So with him being let go of boxing and the depression starting to hit, he is obviously in a financial trouble as far as his family goes to provide. So he has to seek out other work. This both excites and depresses his wife as she knows that boxing is dangerous for him. He already broke his right hand in a few fights before, but she also knows that his best financial income is from boxing, as that is what's going to pay more compared to the labor that he was seeking out. So as he started to seek out manual labor, went to a shipyard local. Times are getting cold. It's getting towards the winter time. There's 30, 40, 50 people outside of the fence at the shipyard that are waiting for the guy to come out to pick a few workers for that day. Some days he gets picked, some days he doesn't. When he does get picked, he has to use his left hand because his right hand is still giving him problems, as he never sought to see a doctor because he knew that would end his career even earlier. Um, the shipyard manager notices, actually kind of questions him about it. Braddock replies and said that it's not going to affect his performance. It's not going to affect how fast he's able to work at the shipyard. The manager lets him slide. So as Braddock continues and continues to use his left hand more and more, his left hand actually becomes stronger as his right hand's getting better. Um, he continues to work. They finally start to even get more financial trouble as the depression hits harder. The electricity's cut off and things of that nature. The wife takes the kids to relatives outside of New Jersey, as that's where they're living at currently. The husband, Braddock, once he gets off work, finds out about this, actually goes to a commissioner's meeting for boxing where managers, boxers, and the commissioner, other high-ranked people on the boxing committee are all meeting and begs for money. And they all know that the way Braddock composes himself, the way he's always handled himself in the public, they know that he's in a very, very troubled situation. They know he's a great guy, so all of them contribute money. Finds out he's still a little short, goes to where the government are giving out stipends to help people out, gets the money, goes and pays the bills, and brings the kids back home. So that was somewhat of a happy moment for the movie as he's reunited with his family. As Braddock continues and continues to work, they're still losing money as far as all their financial goes, but his manager finally comes through, his boxing manager. There was a fight that was supposed to take place between the second best heavyweight in the world and another boxer. Another boxer backed out. Joe Gold, his manager, took advantage of it and got Braddock the fight. Braddock was 5-1 odds, supposed to lose first couple rounds. Actually knocks the other guy out, Corn Griffin. It kind of shocks the world, shocks New Jersey. The commissioner tells him as long as he continues to fight like that, that he has a career. So basically it's win, keep going, lose, you're done again. As he continues and continues to win, New Jersey actually gets behind him. He becomes the token of New Jersey, the token of the poverty-stricken, the poor. Newspaper writer actually hears about this, sports writer, and writes an article on him, labels him the Cinderella Man. That's where the movie gets his name from. That's where he got his nickname from, as he's the true underdog and is continually producing and performing. As he continues to progress and progress throughout the ranks, he finally ends up in the championship round against Max Baer, who is the #1 heavyweight in the world. At the time, he's the most feared boxer there is. Nobody's seen a guy like him. Solid build, huge guy. Supposedly killed 2 to 3 people in the ring. The boxing commissioner actually made Braddock watch a fight of him killing a guy in the ring so that he knows what he's up against, that he's mentally prepared, that he sees what he actually has to deal with, makes him sign a contract upon viewing the video. Braddock, not intimidated, just extremely motivated, mainly extrinsically, due to his family. He knows that he has to provide. He knows that if he loses this fight, they're back in the same spot that they began at. He's back working day in and day out just to provide for the day. So he goes in extremely, extremely motivated and determined. Actually ends up winning the fight June 13th, 1935. It's considered one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. He took him the distance, even though it was a 10-1 odds. Everybody just knew that it was going to end in the first couple rounds with Max Berry either knocking him out or possibly even killing him. That's what a lot of people were feared for. His wife couldn't bear to watch the fight until the last couple rounds when she finally just had to see how it was going. She was worried for her husband. After he won, he was considered one of the best boxers in the world. He continued to fight, ended up winning, continued for several more years. After he was done, he'd actually saved up enough money. He actually paid back the government, which everybody was in shock for because that wasn't required, and ended up buying the shipyard where he had first started working at when he got fired from boxing. So I thought that was a pretty cool story to basically buy and own the place that you were working just to get by every day. So somewhat of a happy ending. Like I said, still one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. Obviously one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. But the way the movie actually portrayed the mental skills that are required for motivation was pretty unique. They didn't exactly, obviously it was the 1920s and 30s. Sports psychology, sports science wasn't exactly prime then. Actually very, very, very minimally talked about as far as how to, develop an athlete or how to mentally prepare him psychologically. So it was kind of unique to see how Braddock prepared himself for those mental skills. Even while he was working in manual labor, mentally started using his left hand instead of his right hand, knowing that his left jab was struggling in the boxing ring, knew he had to prepare for that. So he was making mental notes out throughout he was working. But overall, he was definitely more extrinsically motivated than intrinsically. He did have some intrinsic motivation, as they showed a few scenes where Braddock was practicing just for the love of the game before he was actually depending on it day in and day out. As far as the flow goes, flow is said to be optimal when the skill level of others is equal to your own. That was, however, never really the case for Braddock in the movie. Early on in his career it was, but in the movie he was always fighting people that were superior to him, or so the press thought, so boxing thought. He was even injured, which is another negative impact towards the flow. So all these factors are contributing to this flow that should be decreasing, but I think it actually ended up helping him almost. Flow is considered optimal when somebody is the same performance level as you, but I think there are certain situations when maybe that doesn't always apply. As Braddock was basically a live or die situation. He loses a boxing match. I mean, the kids are gone again. Electricity bills off. Who knows what happens? Maybe some days he doesn't get picked to work, ends up being broke. His family has to move away. So a lot of things could happen. So there was a lot riding on it extrinsically for him to perform and produce results. So that was a pretty cool, I think, mentally that I saw as far as motivation goes. Even the cognitive evaluation theory, which is how rewards are perceived, is really critical to determining whether the intrinsic motivation decreases or increases. I think his rewards were perceived pretty highly, as he knew that it was win and get money to provide for his family, maybe live another few weeks, safe before he boxes again, as back then they boxed a lot more often than they do now, which is why he was injured all the time, or it was lose, not provide for his family. So I think his intrinsic motivation actually increased through his extrinsic results or rewards. So I thought that was a pretty cool aspect to it. The information aspects of his boxing performances suggest that his intrinsic motivation increases because he beats the best in the sport. And basically what that means is it's your information aspects are decided about how you perform, how you produce against other athletes that you're competing against. And considering that these athletes were the top in the sport at the time when he was facing them, and that he was able to not only beat them, but he beat them pretty easily, early rounds or just unanimous decision, I think it definitely helped to increase his intrinsic motivation. The functional significance of the event, that also affected his intrinsic motivation. Like I said before, the significance of his boxing matches were probably more than every other boxer in the league or in the sport. I don't think anybody really had to produce or die, basically kind of situation. um, I think his success increases intrinsic motivation. He went from fighting for his family to fighting for his family and to challenge himself. As he continued to win, he realized that, maybe I'm better than I thought. Maybe I'm better than everybody else thinks. To I know I'm better than everybody. Like, I know I'm better than what I think or what anybody thinks. I'm improving it day in and day out. So I think that definitely helped to increase his intrinsic motivation. Overall, uh, I would definitely say he was more extrinsically motivated than he was intrinsically. Um, that's without a doubt. Like I said, the rewards definitely outweighed his love of the game. Um, the fact that he was always boxing, always looked up to boxers, always saw boxers as his role models, showed his intrinsic motivation. But the fact that it was all about the money, I think, definitely shows that he was more extrinsically motivated than intrinsically. Um, and the fact that he was able to overcome a lot of things, such as the flow, his injuries, and how he actually received and perceived, the rewards, and used that to motivate himself intrinsically, was really cool. So, I mean, overall, as far as the science goes on the movie, I think they displayed it pretty well. Like I said, again, obviously back in those days, there wasn't really, any kind of private coaching as far as mind over matter, or strength conditioning, anything like that. But I do think it definitely showed how you can overcome obstacles when you become motivated enough, or when you're in the right situation that you can actually produce more than you think you can. And as far as my career goes, I'm in strength conditioning. That's what I want to do with my major. I think I can definitely apply that to my field, knowing what athletes are kind of only in college, only getting their degree because of their sport. Maybe they don't have the money. Maybe they come from a poor family, a poor area, school that's not really recognized by any colleges. Their ACT scores weren't that great, but because of their performance, they're able to go to a school and not only perform for their school, but get an education and possibly seek out a job based off their degree after college is over if they don't make it to the pros. So I definitely can apply some of the stuff that I've learned from this movie, on watching this movie, to my career. Just knowing who's extrinsically motivated, knowing who's intrinsically motivated, kind of finding those athletes early on and kind of applying this type of science, this type of um, mental motivation to them, I think will definitely help. But overall, the movie was definitely a great movie. I suggest anybody that wants to kind of learn about this, watch it. And if you don't, it's a great movie overall. So, but I definitely enjoyed doing this project, and it was a good time. Thank you all.